The social media genie is out of the bottle, but Australia, for one, is planning to force it back. Is this a losing battle or one already lost, with social media as the opium of the masses? Look on any street in any town and you can see all this. So do join me, Darasz, for How We Got Here.
This is Auguste Briseux Secondary School in Lorient, France, where students don't bring their phones into the classroom.
When we get in, we turn the phones off because that's one of the rules, and you don't really need to have it on. Then you put it in the locker and leave it there. That way, you're not tempted to turn it back on or look at it.
But why ban students from using smartphones?
The main argument was well-being. It contributed to a better way of living together in the school. You'll see students eating in school without smartphones. Students are on the playground without smartphones. Students talk to each other, play games, communicate with each other, live without cell phones.
The World Health Organization experts argued that smartphones and social media trigger many of the typical addictive behaviors among teenagers and should be controlled like tobacco use. These addiction-like symptoms include an inability to control use, giving up other activities in favor of social media, or seeing negative consequences in everyday life as a result of excessive use.
As teens started spending more time on their phones, they spent less time sleeping and less time with their friends face-to-face. And those are two activities that are really crucial for mental health.
According to WHO research, 11% of adolescents displayed signs of problematic use of social networks in 2022, up from 7% 4 years earlier.
One of the biggest negative effects is the effect on their mental health. So right as smartphones became common, teen depression started to go up, loneliness started to go up, really more serious mental health problems like self-harm behaviors like cutting, suicide, all of those increased after 2010 when the smartphone became common.
Earlier this month, WHO Europe called on national authorities to implement a series of measures to reduce the negative impact of the massive use of smartphones by children. These include improving digital literacy in schools, boosting mental health services, and educating teachers and healthcare providers while enforcing accountability for social media providers. And as the authorities of Auguste Briseux Secondary School in Lorient argue, the no smartphones policy has yielded positive results.
Since we banned cell phones in our school and put them in lockers, there has been a real improvement in the sense of well-being in the school.
France may impose a total ban on cell phones in schools by January 2025. Australia has already done so. And while nationwide data has yet to trickle in to properly assess the effectiveness of the ban, the state of South Australia, where the restriction was introduced in 2023, has already reported a 63% drop in critical incidents involving social media in the first half of 2024, compared to the same period in 2023 before the ban.
I'm delighted to be joined by our guest today, Bartosz Kicior, Assistant Professor of Sociology at SWPS University here in Warsaw. Welcome to the programme.
Welcome.
Social media today, we'll be discussing that, but first of all we'll go to Australia and discuss why Australia is banning social media to the under-18s.
So they just announced it. The Prime Minister announced the plan to do that, to ban social media for youth, and we still don't know if the law is gonna be for young people under 16 or maybe 15, maybe 14. So the plan's somewhere between 14 and 16. And we still don't know how they're gonna introduce it and implement it. But all that we know is that the research conducted this year by the institute called Reach Out, it's shown that about 60% of parents, they worried, they are terrified about the impact that social media has on their children.
We'll come to the parents in a minute, the parental responsibilities, but we've seen during the COVID epidemic, especially in Australia, it seems to have adopted a very robust and aggressive policing of these regulations. Is this specifically an Australian thing, or is it a liberal thing, or is it a general, would you say it could have a domino effect on other Western societies?
Maybe, yeah. There is some discussion in the United Kingdom as well right now, just after the sign came from Australia. I don't think that it's gonna happen anytime soon in Europe or anywhere in Western countries, but it may happen. I mean, it should happen, of course. Maybe not demand, but this discussion and some actions towards protecting children, especially from social media impact. But yeah, maybe we can talk about the domino effect here. But it's still in the talking phase.
Is this too late? I mean, we see some parents suing social media companies, all that sort of stuff. But it generally seems to be a lack of parental control. When we see 18-year-olds or teenagers going around Warsaw, they're into their phones all the time. The question is, why don't parents do it, and why should the state do it as they are doing, or as they seem to be doing it in Australia? Civil rights, civil liberties.
But there is another question here. Why should we do it? Why the consumers should be responsible for that? And all those big techs, the big companies, the platforms, the providers, they are not responsible at all for how they program the apps and the software. And they know how to program the software to be, like addicting for young people especially. So it is a parental responsibility, of course. But on the other hand, like the state should also talk about some regulations here. You're asking whether it's too late. For some, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, it's not that we cannot do anything about it. We still can. And I would not blame parents here because we're still on unknown ground here. It's like we're being colonized, like we are on this territory and somebody's coming to us and he's giving us something new. We still don't know how to control it. The thing that we know about the harmful impact of social media on our brains or on our behavior, like, I don't know, it's like 5 years maybe we know about it.
How do you police such a state-regulated thing? Knock on the door at 6 in the morning. What does it come to?
This is a really complex issue. It's really complicated. We have the technology to block some particular app on the phone in the specific area, but if somebody, for example, would leave the specific area or would install some other app to communicate, to do basically the same thing, it's pointless. So we can just ban specific apps and like specific software in a specific place. We can't do that. How can we introduce it? Well, honestly, I don't know how to perform such a complex act, how to introduce it, because right now, theoretically, we have a really strong law saying that children under 13, they cannot sign up to these apps, sign up to social media platforms. Yet they do that. Cannot control it right now.
The analogy you used in what you've been saying is that of a narcotics dealer peddling his wares. Are you saying that the narcotic of social media is equally as powerful, and we should treat the companies who profit from this as narco dealers?
We still don't know. So this is a thing that we will probably know more about it in the coming years. Right now, what we can do, like maybe this is a really like strong thing to say that they are similar, but the power of the addiction, I would say that it's somewhat at the same level.
But these companies, huge companies, very profitable companies, are too big to try and police.
Yeah.
We've seen Mark Zuckerberg being interrogated by the US Senate, but I mean, he's still there.
Yes, and yes, he is too big to fall. Maybe not to fall, but to even be controlled. Like him, Elon Musk, people on the top level of this chain. Like, let's imagine that here in Poland we have like 40 million people living. On Facebook we have billions of people. This is a scale that we cannot do anything about something so big by ourselves. Even Australian cannot do that at all. They can introduce some laws. They can try, of course, and I hope they will. But as you said, they are really, really large and powerful, those companies.
And our responsibility is surely to be discerning as to what we do. We don't have that, do we? We just like the social media too much to abandon it.
Yes, we love that. And the thing is that we should not talk about abandoning it. Like, as I said, cutting the cord. We shouldn't be like going back to, I don't know, 90s without internet or something. What we should ask about is, what can we do about those platforms? Can we regulate them? Can we somehow enforce some measures to control them? Because nobody is saying that we should throw out our phones and delete all the accounts on social media and just leave the internet. No, we should use it. It's really useful in many branches of our lives, but still we have to, as I said, educate, explain, and control it to some extent, of course.
Any aspect, historically, actions about prohibition have failed. We can't. Alcohol in the United States. We're trying to, on this war on drugs, we seem to be losing it. The British pushed opium into China, created a generation of opium addicts.
And even right now, the France introduced some law, like prohibition for the phones in schools and primary schools. But what the kids do, they are just using their phones in the toilets after school, or anywhere and everywhere that they can do that. So yeah, even here, prohibition, it doesn't work.
When I see young people on the metro coming into work, I think, well, they must be playing games or watching something stupid. They could be learning ancient Greek or learning how to play chess, reading War and Peace. They could be doing. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's not always the fact that they may be addicted to the method.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily an evil to be combated.
We can find a lot of quality content online, on social media as well. Right now, the kids are searching for crucial, really important, serious information on TikTok. How to help people on the street if they fall down, for example. How to learn a new hobby, and all those educational content as well, as you said, like ancient Greek, maybe, yeah.
But my final question to you, Professor, you say we still haven't got the data on the effects of social media on a developing teenage mind. But is this, we have to wait a number of years, okay, during which time...
Sorry, we have some evidence how it affects our brain and the minds, of course, yeah, but we still don't know like the full spectrum. We can.
Is this a lost generation in the interim, in the meantime?
No, not at all, not at all. I think it's, as Jonathan Haidt wrote, an anxious generation, maybe a generation that needs our attention and, as I said, education and explanation, but I would not say that they're lost.
Take our responsibilities as adults, I suppose,
yeah.
a bit more seriously.
But what I'm saying is that we are not all responsible for what big techs are doing. The state should take a look at some measures and regulations at this level, at the technology level, not to ban only like the end of the chain of the communication.
Thank you very much, Professor Bartosz Kicior, for coming to our program.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Great to have you. So that's been it for today. Fantastic discussion. Do join us next time for How We Got Here.